The last year has been brutal for the crypto gaming industry, with almost 50 game studios closing their doors, leaving players and investors stranded. We are going to take a look at a few case studies so we can learn what to avoid, as well as some spicy takes. Welcome to Tokenized 360 and our journey through the graveyard. It never feels good to lose something you care about, especially if you've invested time or money into it. It's worth noting that it also does not feel good to lose something you have worked hard on to build. It is my belief that this list is very much a mixed bag of those who tried their hardest and failed, and those who were looking to make a quick buck at other people's expense. We're going to rapid fire, go through the list of names, those who closed down, then take a more detailed look at a bunch of them, pointing out red flags and mistakes that were made. The more people know about what has happened, the better companies can be in the future at avoiding the same downfall. Just a few days ago, the latest shutdown is Overtake World and the Somius World. After 7 months of minimal updates or development, the game will transition away from Web 3 and continue under a fully Web 2 framework. This is a theme you'll see through a few of the other names on this list. More thoughts on this later. Getting right into the list: Battlebound, Anterris, Blade of God, Blast Royale, Champions Ascension, Derby Race, Ember Sword, Goombles, JungleXYZ, Kryptomon, Hello Monster, Loot Legends, Metalcore, Mystery Society, Nyan Heroes, Realms of Alurya, RoboKiden, RumbleKong League, ShatterlineFPS, Valeria Studios, Captain Tsubasa, Rivals, forgive me if I say some of these names wrong, Clown Chaser, Pirate Nation, Planet Mojo, Ragnarok, Monster World, Symbiogenesis, Raini, The Lords of Light, The Walking Dead Empires, OpenSeason, Tokyo Beast, Moonfrost, Age of Dino, Jungle, Deadrop, Tatsumiku, Lumia Fates, Dragons, Dogami, Cosmic Battle, Universe, Pixiland, Badman Robots, Ragnarok, Libraire, Aether Games, Eternal League. It took a long time just to say all those names. If your favorite game was on that list, or your least favorite, let me know in the comments section below. While you're down there, please leave a like, it helps us out a lot. One of my favorite games, at least back in the day, was on that list, and they didn't execute the way we had hoped they would. We'll get into that in a little bit. Checking out a closer look at some of these Aether games, blamed just about everything in the industry. Granted, a lot of those are real challenges, from KOLs taking large portions of liquidity, quote, not being effective, the token price being down and exchanges threatening to delist them, operation costs like audit securities and listings, the hack, and just the general crypto market. On top of all this, they threw in unsustainable play-to-earn model. I tend to think that a lot of these were somewhat legitimate complaints, but if you're building a company or anything, you're raising millions of dollars, the first thing you want to do is plan for as many challenges as you can. There's a certain friend of mine, his name is Murphy, made a law named after him called Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, so just plan on things going wrong and succeeding anyway. Easier said than done. Moving on. Eternal League, we didn't know how much they raised, but they weren't seeing the player retention needed for viability and weren't able to secure funds to continue development. I'm going mostly off of the official reasons why these closed. There are probably plenty of below the surface reasons. Like I said, some of these might have been liquidity exits, aka rug pulls, aka theft. Not pointing to anybody particular, just saying that it probably happens. Eternal League is somewhat of a shame because the gameplay really was fun. Not sure it stands up to the best gaming has to offer, but it was definitely fun to play. Champions Ascension, this goes way back to 2021. They raised about $32 million to build this. The game they came up with, while it looked interesting, it definitely did not look polished or complete, and they pivoted to an infrastructure distribution platform instead of continuing their games development. And while they said pause, we haven't really heard anything since then. For all the hype around it, really sad to see this outcome. Ember Sword. Oh, the Ember Sword goes right through my heart. My very first NFT was actually an Ember Sword land plot. Still have it in my wallet. They raised about 12 million and tried to redo the entire gaming tech stack from scratch. While this is noble and ambitious, you probably needed about $100 million more to try to accomplish that. They literally bit off more than they could chew. They did scale down operations in 22 or 23, which was a good thing, but they were hoping for the crypto bull run, especially in gaming, to come back. They were betting on it, and that bet, of course, did not pan out. We are still in a crypto gaming bear market. They were not able to raise capital to continue to develop. The end product was definitely way less shiny than I was hoping for, way less features. Overall, very disappointing. I would not categorize this as a rug pull, simply as a business failure and literally trying to bite off more than you can chew. I personally still respect the founders, but it became pretty obvious that the game they were building needed a lot more development in order to live up to the hype. Kryptomon ran out of funding, shelved indefinitely. They had some good things going on, and if you straight up compare them graphically to the 3D Pokemon games, not half bad. Did have some good things going, but ran out of funding. I sometimes do wonder about games ending in Mon being just a little too much of a try to copycat Pokemon. Very hard market to get into, as you might be able to pull some nostalgia strings, but it's just not going to be the same as somebody who grew up looking at these specific Pokemon. Loot Legends actually looked really fun from what I've seen. It was a Web 2 mobile game that was acquired by Highchain, a Web 3 company, pivoted into Web 3, and then Highchain pivoted away again to their L2 platform for, quote, broader potential. This is another one of those pivots where the game is still playable in legacy mode, but receives no support. At its peak, it did have 25,000 daily players. Those probably dwindled as there was less and less earnings to be had in the game. This pivot to other infrastructure plays really kind of annoys me, honestly. If you're going to do something, I'd almost rather you just pause your operations, get a J job for a year or two until the market starts coming back, and then go back into building your game, build it in the evenings. I'd rather a pause happen like that than just, let's go try something else business-wise. Like, why are you starting a new business when you could just pause this, get a day job, come back to this when you can get funding? Really ashamed to see a fun game like this be kicked to the shadows. Metalcore. Oh, Metalcore. 20 million raised. The gameplay they came up with was interesting. Normally, I really don't like being this negative, but making this video was probably good for me, just in waking up to some harsh realities. The bad thing about this is they just disappeared right after a big event. Boom, gone. Nyan Heroes, another shooter. This one actually looked really good. In contrast, I think they did a great job making this game. A lot of hype around it at one point, probably too dependent on that token price. And also server costs play into a lot of these games if they have multiplayer. One thing I would really love to see is actually server costs. As counterintuitive as this is, I would love to see server costs paid by blockchain fees, have games be more stored on open ledgers in a way that if you want to play it, you're going to pay fees to do that. I get free to play and everything, but at the end of the day, somebody's got to pay the bill, and I'd rather see games be immortal than free. Realms of Alurya, indefinite hiatus. Indefinite, by the way, doesn't mean never coming back. It means undefined, basically. Indefinite period of time. This one was kind of killed by pivoting to Ronin. love Ronin. Think it was probably a good decision. Ronin is a great chain, but they were funded by the Treasure DAO, and they migrated from the Treasure chain to Ronin. So Treasure DAO said, we're not funding you anymore, and they weren't able to find a funder over on the Ronin side to continue. Whether it's one person coding on their computer or a team of people, it does take resources and effort to make games. Those resources and effort have to come from somewhere. Valeria Studios actually cut their losses before TGE, which is interesting. They were apparently spending a lot of money on chain costs and didn't have the players to justify things. Interesting that they decided not to go through with the TGE, which probably says that they're relatively decent people, not looking for a quick exit on that one. Shatterline, a first-person shooter, actually pivoted to just single-player only. I do not think you should do a first-person shooter unless it is as good as first-person shooters not in Web3. This one looked like it had some cool mechanics and stuff. Games like Star Atlas or Wilder World are looking really sharp in various ways and getting more and more polished as time goes on. If you're going to make a first-person shooter, better have something really interesting. Pirate Nation, oh, what a mess. This is another pivot to other things they were doing, and they somewhat kind of half-heartedly tried to redeem some of the value of the NFTs/currency. Not well handled at all. A different studio, Raven's Quest, did step in and provide a little bit of value, a place to go for the holders of the pirate NFTs, gave some utility to them. It was really cool to see that. Pirate Nation cited 150k monthly op costs versus 2 million annual revenue. If you do the math on that, they're still getting more revenue, because you go 150k times 12 is 1800, so they're still getting over 200,000 a year, but that number might be skewed because they cut it off midway through the year. I do not like what they did. I'm not supportive of their future endeavors. Oh, what a mess, Pirate Nation, that. The Walking Dead Empires, the idea behind it is awesome. It's great. In practice, it was part of the Gala game ecosystem. Red flag number one. Never been a fan of Gala. Gala basically just tossed it to the side to focus on their, quote, core titles, and the NFT migration to other games was said to be chaotic and, quote, value eroding. Not surprised. It's kind of a shame when even well-known IP doesn't do well in the crypto gaming space. There are many issues we as a gaming industry need to work out. If it's any consolation, there is massive chaos in the Web 2 traditional gaming space. Gaming industry in general, bigger than Web 2 or Web 3, needs major overhauls. One of the reasons I'm here is specifically I want to bring back the days where you had a game, it was yours forever, you could play it forever, nobody could take that away from you. This is not the case currently in Web 2 or Web 3, and I'm hoping Web 3 break that. NFTs are kind of a start of that, but the full game needs to be on chain in order for it to actually be immortalized. We're not there yet, and I do like a lot of the games that aren't, and I do think they are worthwhile. I just want to see more player protection, player ownership. Tokyo Beast. I made content for Tokyo Beast, and I couldn't stand the gameplay. I recognized that some people did like it, but I was pulling teeth to play it. I am not surprised that the player base fell off a cliff, especially if there wasn't rewards to back it up. If you have to pay players to play a game, maybe that game shouldn't actually exist. I love it when you can have a lot of fun and earn a little bit at the same time. Do not love it when playing a game is almost worse psychologically than going to a day job. Total confusion to stop operations so quickly after launch. I don't know if they were expecting players to pay a lot more as they play or what, but massive faceplant or rug pull, depending on how much capital they extracted or not. Moonfrost, another one pivoting to Web 2. This one hurts. It's a beautiful game. They put a lot of heart and soul into it. This one might be a little bit on the Web 3 gaming space. Honestly, there's a lot of toxicity, probably just a few people spreading a lot of toxin, but when you're trying to build a beautiful chill game and give a little bit of ownership to people and then they go and complain, it might be somewhat reasonable to exit that space. That being said, if you're going to build in a place, don't just rug pull people by making everything worthless. That was not a good way to exit. Not cool to just turn your back on the people who believe in you and bought or gameplay mined your NFTs. That one hurts. Deadrop, the founder of it, got into a years and years long scandal, and it eventually caught up to him and basically ended his content creation career. Creators of Deadrop separated from him, and the whole thing just fell apart. Careful who you partner with. Pixiland paused all Web3 features and transitioned into Web 2 model. Again, yes, I would consider this in Moonfrost. Definitely rug pulls. If you're going to build something and build it a certain way, don't turn your back on the people that have believed in you, especially after selling NFTs. Red flags I would point out: daily active users. Going lower and lower is definitely no bueno for any game. Games that are doing infrastructure play as well as the game, I'm not saying it can't work. Steam itself was a game development studio, developed Half-Life, Half-Life 2, very successful in those games, and then went on to be infrastructure play. I'm just saying it is a risk that they pivot into just doing that infrastructure play and forget about the game itself. Now, if the game is tied into the infrastructure, like say Star Atlas is going to be with the Zinc chain, then they are incentivized to work on both very, very strongly. So I don't think there's a problem there, but if the incentives aren't aligned, you do run the risk of them turning their back on one or the other. How much money they initially raised versus how long they've been in business. If you're sub 10 million, it's probably going to be really hard to make a really good game. Some of these raised a lot more than that and still folded. It takes a lot to develop a good game. Stay away from games that are hyping their token too much or too focused on number go up, because if their success is primarily tied to their token price, then there's a good chance that eventually they will not have the token price at a sustainable point and run into problems. Some studios can still survive those problems and be okay. Just something to watch for if they're too focused on the token having to do well. Conversely, if they're not at all interested in the token or NFTs, it's just like, here you go, here's something, then maybe they might pivot to Web 2. Probably a balance to be had there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this content and learned something. This will probably be one of my most negative videos you'll hear me make. I love to stay on the positive side, but it is also good to have the warnings in your brain and be alert, so maybe you get hurt a little less often. I'm Freelander. Thank you so much for watching, and stay safe out there.